Hello everyone, I'm Shinichiro Udono from FUJIFILM. We hope that everyone watching this event, including your family and friends, are doing well and had a good new year. Currently, our lifestyles are changing due to the coronavirus situation. We, FUJIFILM Electronics Imaging Division, are doing everything to continue our camera development and production with careful infection control. I'm right now at Tire Factory, one of the manufacturing base of our X and GFX series. First, we will give you several new information about new product from this factory. And the later half will be the live streaming session. We will connect online with 4 X photographers based in USA, Europe, and Asia to have some discussion about our product. If you are watching this event on YouTube, please write down comments or questions to the chat screen. We will check them during the live discussion and would like to answer to some as much as we can. Now, let's start the X Summit Global 2021. Hi again, everyone. Here, the Tire Factory is where the GFX cameras and lenses are being manufactured and shipped from. The GFX 100 is also built here. We have launched a new firmware for this camera in November last year, adding 400 megapixel shooting function. GFX is now used as a camera for digital archiving to preserve precious artworks and articles at museums. When we announced the GFX 100, we introduced it with the tagline of "Preserve for the Future." To preserve the past things and memories, to preserve the precious moments and items, and carrying them over to the future are one of the important missions of photography. FUJIFILM has pursued the best and the latest digital imaging technology for that purpose. And FUJIFILM has proposed the ultimate image quality achieved by GFX series with 100 megapixel shooting and multi-shot 400 megapixel shooting. The major factor of the technology is the 44 by 33 millimeter large format CMOS sensor. We will once again explain the reason why we choose this format.
The size of the format decides most about the character and capability of the camera system. What we all expect or desire to the camera system may be different. But if someone seriously desired resolution and image quality, we, FUJIFILM, believe choosing the large format is your only choice to be fully satisfied. People can be moved and be impressed with a single picture or a single scene from a film, and we believe the images captured by large format has the power to achieve this. This characteristic is why we choose this large format for our GFX. Of course, at first, it is the resolution. Currently, there are no other camera system which can exploit the full potential of 100 megapixel sensor other than the large format. I personally believe in the word God is in the details. The fine details make things more real. Even when we are not fully conscious of these details, human eye feels them when we see images that possess ultra-high resolution. Secondary is the tone. As larger the format becomes, the capacity of electrons in the photodiode would become larger. This leads to wider dynamic range and the better signal-to-noise ratio. Especially, the shadow tones and the highlights would get richer information, resulting smooth tones with incredibly subtle color gradations. Photography is the action to draw, graph, the light, photon. The more information from the light, the better quality would be. With richer information, we, FUJIFILM, can do more to enhance photographic creativity. Film simulation is what we are talking about. With richer details on the shadow and highlights, we were able to challenge creating new photographic expressions. How do you feel? For some of you, it might remind you of the new American color photography from the 1960s and 70s. This new film simulation mode, named Nostalgic Neg, will be added to the new camera we will be going to announce today. Let's go back to why we chose the large format. Last but not least is the beautiful bokeh. When comparing images taken by the other format with the same angle of view, larger format, which is physically larger, has the longer focal length. It makes shallower depth of field, which creates the unique separation between the subject and the background. And this separation and the unique look is what makes images taken with larger format so special. These are the reasons why we chose this large format sensor.
Thank you, Makoto. Resolution, tone, and bokeh. These three are definitely the reason why we chose this format size and the reason why photographers use GFX. But still, we have a lot more to work on for this system. GFX 100 is not a huge camera, considering the specs and capability. What if GFX 100 became smaller, like full-frame cameras? So, this is the concept for the new GFX I'm going to announce today, the GFX 100S. In order to downsize the GFX 100 system, we redesigned almost everything inside except the sensor. The shutter unit, the in-body image stabilization unit, and the robust body structure was all designed from scratch. In this course of development, our experience in developing the compact X series cameras was very helpful. Also, smaller components consume less electricity. The smaller battery works for this camera with 460 shots when fully charged. And this battery size contributes to further downsizing too. With these small innovations added up, we managed to produce this GFX 100S with only 900 grams. The camera body capacity is 30% less, and weight is 500 grams lighter than GFX 100. Very small and comfortable in my hand, and very light. If the camera body becomes 500 grams lighter, I will definitely bring one more lens. Lightness and mobility is very important for actual shooting. Comparing this size with one of the typical full-frame mirrorless camera, the weight difference is only 160 grams. With the extra 160 grams, you can now achieve the best image quality like no others, with ultra-high resolution and brilliant tonality. Time has come for everyone to be able to enjoy the ultimate image quality beyond the full-frame system. In short, more than full-frame. GFX is now partnered with a compact body of only 900 grams, and also with a strong IBIS that performs 5-axis, 6-stop stabilization. High-resolution 100 megapixel shooting requires a reliable IBIS. And of course, this camera would have no problem in tough shooting conditions. The GFX 100S with the robust tough body resists most weathers and environments. GFX will expand the shooting field further with these hardware features. Not only the hardware, but also the firmware have been improved. The autofocus has become more intelligent and faster. If you think that autofocus of a large format camera is slow, the GFX 100S will blow your mind. 3.6 million phase detection pixels, which is arranged widely across the sensor, realize fast and accurate focusing. Combined with the improved autofocus algorithm, the GFX 100S achieves a fast autofocus speed at 0.18 seconds. With this speed, you might be able to even capture fast-moving subjects, such as sports and wild animals. The autofocus is not only fast, but also reliable in dark situations. The phase detection autofocus works even at minus 5.5 EB. Minus 5.5 EB may be difficult to imagine how dark it is. For example, it is a very dark condition where you need to set the shutter speed up to 200 seconds with ISO 100 and aperture f2.0. With this focusing capability under low light, you can even try out snap shooting at night times, where there are only dim light from the stars. And the face and eye detection autofocus is also important. The very shallow depth of field is one of the major characteristics of the large format cameras. It is important to keep focusing on the point where you want to aim. When shooting portrait, it will for most of the time be the subject's eye. The GFX 100S detects the subject's eye with very high precision and controls the depth of field by millimeters. And you'd be able to achieve the magical-looking portraits with three-dimensional feeling. Let's talk about the movie features as well. Yes, it does shoot 4K. In fact, this xsummit is presently being filmed using the GFX 100S. Attached with FUJIFILM Premista, our large format cinema zoom lens. The GFX 100S does not simply capture movie in 4K, but are capable in capturing outstanding cinematic movies with such combination. More than full frame is not only for still shooting, but also for movie shooting. GFX 100S can shoot cinema quality movie. There are a lot more I want to talk about, but let me share the information with you regarding its availability. The suggested retail price is $5,999. I cannot believe that we could really manage this price point. But the price is a very important factor, since we wanted to have more people to have the chance of using the 100 megapixel GFX. As you can see, GFX 100S is on the middle of production line. The GFX camera requires super high precision at each assembling process. The quality of made in Japan takes an important part for GFX cameras and lenses. After this, each camera will go through adjustment and strict quality inspection before the shipment starts. We are aiming for these cameras to be available at store by next month. Look forward to it. We have one more news about GFX series. It is the GF 80mm f1.7 lens, which we introduced at xsummit London last year. We will launch this lens at the same timing with the GFX 100S. Actually, we already have a production unit right here. The brightest among all G-mount lenses. This lens creates a creamy bokeh, and it's the best lens for shooting beautiful portraits. Please look at its size. It doesn't distract the subjects during shooting. This lens, with the focal length of 80mm, the bright f1.7 aperture, and the compact size, will be a great choice for taking a portrait with a beautiful bokeh look while capturing the surrounding information. I have one more lens to introduce to you today. We are now ready to officially announce XF70-300mm. I introduced this lens at the previous xsummit, and now it's ready to be shipped. The weight is only 580 grams. This lens covers equivalent focal lengths of up to 450mm. Not only it is compact and easy to carry around, the image quality is great. Please look at some of the outstanding images taken by our ex-photographers. Birds, animals, sports, landscapes, and train beagles. We would recommend this lens to all X-mount users. This small zoom lens would give you the extra reach to the subject in distant place. Compactness, lightweight, and mobility is what Fujifilm always have in mind when we develop new X-series cameras and lenses. X-series provide creativity and mobility together. This is what we have aimed for the last decade. And today, we have another X-series products to share with you.
I think all photographers are always thinking, how can I take great pictures? To this question, many legendary photographers often said, it's very simple. It's to have a camera anytime, anywhere. Needless to say, I'm always carrying a camera even when I go to office. Because no one knows when I happen to meet great photo opportunities. Someone often say, the latest smartphone's camera is good enough. It's almost true. But in my case, it's not enough. I don't want to regret not using camera later. For the purpose, the everyday camera should be small and lightweight as much as possible. It's one of the most important concepts of X-series, and it's one of the most important reasons why we selected APS-C format. I'm sorry, the introduction has become long. So today, I will introduce you the lightest and the smallest X-series camera among the latest lineup. It is XE4. As you can see, the size is small enough to fit the palm, and the shape of the front body panel is totally flat. So you can put in this camera easily to the pocket of jacket or any bags. The operation and body design are very classical and beautiful, like X Pro series. So I think you can use this camera in both casual and formal situations. Of course, you don't need to worry about performance. We installed the fourth generation sensor and processor, same as the XT4. And for the first time in XE series, we installed tiltable LCD, which can turn 180 degrees. This LCD is designed very thin, like that of X100V, So when you look at the camera from the back, the surface is very flat. As you can see from how we equip this camera with a tilt screen, this camera is developed mainly for the still photographers. And I think the shooting genre that is suitable for this camera is snap shooting. It is because this small camera won't give a feeling of any intimidation to the subject. In addition, we prepared an attractive lens that looks good with the XE4. It's a XF27mm f2.8 RWR. As you can see the letter R and WR, this lens has aperture ring and weather-resistant construction. The size and weight are almost same as the first generation 27mm lens, despite the addition of those new functions. The combination of XE4 and this lens can achieve the lightest weight among fourth generation X series cameras. Of course, it's lighter than X100V. Also, the optical design is totally same as previous model. The 40mm equivalent lens is very versatile. I think it has both characteristics like 35mm lens and 50mm lens. So, if I can choose only one lens, I will select this lens. We are confident that this lens is more attractive than your expectation.
Thank you, Takashi. This is all for today's product announcement. GFX 100S at $5999. GF 80mm f1.7 at $2299. XE4 at $849, and the new XF 27mm at $399. And XF 70 to 300mm at $799. These new products should be ready at the store from end of February. And one more topic to share. The GFX system will be reaching its 5th anniversary this year. We now have 4 camera bodies and 13 G-mount lenses. We will continue to enrich this lineup, but also we would like to start global activities to support our GFX users. Until today, we have collaborated with our ex-photographers to produce outstanding images and films. In addition to this activity, we would open up the chance to be in part of these projects. The GFX Challenge Program 2021 will be started. Further detail will be announced at our fujifilm-x.com website soon. Okay, from now, let's move on to the live discussion part. Hello again, everyone. So thank you for watching xsummit Global. So now we start a live discussion. So this is live. So I think everybody okay? So don't be nervous. Okay. So first, so we have today 4 guest photographers. So I'm going to ask them for quick self-introduction. Okay, so the first, Dinesh, can you introduce yourself briefly?
Sure. How's it going, everyone? My name is Dinesh Boaz. I'm an aerial photographer and gallery artist. I'm also a creative director here based in New York City. My work takes me in helicopters, from open-door helicopters, shooting with the GFX system. I've been working with the FUJIFILM cameras for the past few years now, specifically the GFX 100. I'm really excited to be here and learn more and share more knowledge with you. And you can follow my work on IG at Beats by Dinesh. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dinesh. So, and also thank you for joining us in the early morning. Okay. So next is from Singapore, Ivan and Mindy.
Mindy should start first.
Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here today. My name is Mindy, based in Singapore. I'm primarily a commercial photographer doing a lot of lifestyle and portraits. My background is also in news reporting. I was a journalist before, and hence I think my passion for photography really is documentary storytelling and also, telling the story of the streets. Last year, I was very honored to be invited by Fujifilm to be part of Camera Punk. It's a long-form documentary. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, you should. That's where I got to script and narrate and interview all these good people at Fujifilm. With Fujifilm Singapore, I also produced a photography learning series. It's called Fuji Girl.
Hello, everyone. This is Ivan. I'm also from Singapore. I'm a commercial photographer based here. My first Fuji camera is actually the X10. It's a small little compact camera. I fell in love with this system. From there, I grew to love more Fuji cameras like the X Pro 1, who actually made me love photography again. It rekindled my love. And from there, the GFX became my gold standard for work, for my portrait works and fashion shoots. And through this whole process of the Fuji family, I began to meet a lot of passionate people too. And that's how I started Fuji Fanboys IG. And I just want to say a shout out to all the Fuji fanboys and fangirls out there. Thank you for joining us. That's all, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan, Mindy. Okay, and lastly, Jonas from Denmark.
Hi guys, I'm Jonas Dyrask from Denmark. I'm mainly a street photographer. I've been doing street photography for about 10 years, actually the same amount of time as the X series system has been out. I started my journey with the X100, moved into the X Pro 1, and just went on from there. I also do some portraiture and lifestyle work. And above that, I'm actually a doctor, and I'm coming live from my office, my consultation room. So, but thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Jonas. So, and here in Tokyo, so we have me and 3 Fujifilm staffs. They are working for product planning. So we can discuss whatever about Fuji product. Okay, so let's start the discussion, especially about the new product, which we have just announced today. So today's biggest announcement is, so definitely GFX 100S. So actually today's guest photographers already tried the cameras and lenses and created great pictures. So I would like to ask them about their experience of the GFX 100 and XE4, so our new lenses. Okay, first, Dinesh, can I ask, what did you feel about GFX, especially in your shooting project that you shoot from the helicopter? Yeah. Please?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the GFX 100S, it's a very special camera. I fell in love with the GFX 100 when it first came out and I started shooting with it. I think the transition, I got to use the GFX 100S over Los Angeles in a doorless helicopter. And the transition to this camera was seamless. In fact, it was so exciting because it's so deceiving. It's a smaller body, it's lighter, but it's just as fast. The resolution is exactly the same. I got to shoot with actually two bodies in a very cramped helicopter, flying over Los Angeles with lots of wind conditions. And I was working with multiple different lenses, and my experience was seamless. The workflow helped me really just focus on my art and focus on the images that I wanted to create. I never thought about learning the system in a very specific way. It was easy to work with. And I also think for me, as an artist, that's really important, that workflow is seamless. I also got to work with the nostalgic film simulation, nostalgic negative film simulation, which really recreates this classic feel of print from decades ago. And it helps you sort of tell a story and see the world in a new way. And that's what I'm looking for, is to not take away from the images, but to really add on my journey and the story that I want to tell in creating my work. And as far as print resolution and for large format prints and for landscape work, it's really special to me. And the images that I got were stunning. And I was really excited in terms of working with this camera and seeing the results. I'm super excited to keep improving and growing with this camera as an artist.
So thank you, Dennis. So you mentioned about the landscape photography. So especially you mentioned about the resolution. So the large format sensor advantage. So comparing to your previous camera experience, so what is the good thing about the larger format sensor camera? Especially in landscape shooting, landscape photography.
Sure. So, I mean, as you can see, and even in some of the print work behind me, this is all in the GFX 100. I think there's something special about getting that file even before you start editing it, and even before you start doing any kind of post-production. There's so much information to work with. It's so rich. What I love about the FUJIFILM medium format system is there's just such a dynamic range of quality and information that I can work with. And then when I pull it out in an editing app, it explodes. Like my mind is racing with the possibilities and the directions that I can go in, and I've never been able to work in that way. And then that translating into getting into, print work, into really large format prints, and even, the work that I'm sharing on social media, there's just something that's taking it above an average photo. And even a really great fine art photo for me, there's something that I can get out of the GFX 100 and now the GFX 100S that I've never been able to experience before. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's exactly the usage of the large format camera, GFX 100S, and of course GFX 100. So any question from our product planners?
May I have some comment? So you mentioned about the nostalgic name, right?
Yes.
So, and you shoot the Los Angeles from the sky. That's what my feeling. It was very impressive because that is based on the new American color photography, right? So I still remember the photography book from the Los Angeles. So that's quite impressive for me. You shoot the Los Angeles town.
Right. So, working with that film simulation, it just gave me a different feel of Los Angeles. Obviously it's something that I feel doesn't take away from the image. It's something that I feel like doesn't sort of distract you as a photographer, as a viewer, or it's not something as simple as just throwing a simulation on it and hoping for the results. I think it's a different way of viewing the world. And that's what I think is so special about all the film simulations. I'm personally obsessed with Velvia as a simulation. And then now with this new simulation, I think it just gives you more ways to look at the world in sort of a classic way, but with the modern twist.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on the next. Maybe I ask Ivan. Okay.
Yes.
So Ivan, so you shoot the portrait photography.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you feel about GFX 100S and also 80mm or f1.7 new lens in your
Yes.
portrait project this time.
I think it's a very comfortable system to use. It's very small, actually, compared to others. It's light. Autofocus is extremely fast. I don't feel any lag at all, which makes it very easy. I love the size and the weight of it. As for the lens, I think it's also magical, just like the 110 f2. It's smaller, shorter. The difference is, I was just comparing the 110 f2. What's the difference between these two lenses? I feel the 80mm is a bit more cinematic in that sense, because the bokeh that it produces is a bit creamy, correct? But it's also soft around the edges. It has this little swirl to it. Like what I was just chatting, Mindy, it says it brings the subject in, or try to draw you in, which makes it very unique to me. As mentioned earlier, I think that it is great to shoot video with it. It is very interesting because by default, it creates that cinematic feel to it. I'm loving it, actually.
Okay, thank you very much. So
Can I just add on to what
Yeah,
Ivan
please,
has said?
please.
Yeah, I've had a go with the 80mm for 2 days, and actually I photographed my little black dog and my dad. So what I realized with the 80, right, it's that there is a sort of a magical zone to the lens. In a sense, like when you really go all the way forward, so something like a 80 centimeters to say between 80 cm and 1.2 meters, the perspective of the person changes as compared to, you know, when you were to pull back to even just 1.5. So there is this like zone that you enter, and when you enter that length, it makes you feel as if you really are standing with the person in the photograph. So you are especially observe it when you are holding onto the camera, and especially when you're moving slowly towards the subject. When you get into that focal length, it suddenly just, you know, clicks. So of course, obviously, I'm planning to buy the lens.
That makes two of us now.
Yeah, great, great. So, okay, I think today's 4 guest photographers, everybody had an experience to use GFX 100S. So, if you have any request or questions, the comment, whatever about product GFX 100S or GF lenses, so could you tell me? So, comment or request about our product. GFX, about GFX.
Can I add to something?
Yes, please.
So yeah, obviously, as you said, we've all tried them, and this thing, I know this this moniker has been thrown around a lot, the game changer kind of thing, but I simply sometimes I took myself wondering, how is this even possible for me running around the town with medium format camera, making street photography with 100 megapixels, with a quality that just 5 years back was reserved for studio photography and landscape photography on a tripod. I mean, we've come such a long way, and the GFX 100S is just that step above the rest. It's an incredible camera system, very, very, very versatile. So yeah, amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Jonas. So that is exactly the concept of GFX 100S. So also the meaning of more than full frame. So GFX 100S, so we can easily carry out anywhere, so any place, and you can shoot whatever you want. So with large format image quality. So that is a concept of GFX 100S. So thank you, Jonas.
I would like to add something like what Jonas has
Okay,
said.
please.
This is, for once in my life, there's actually usually a work camera is never a leisure camera because they're big, they're heavy. This, for once in my life, I felt that a work camera can actually be used for play. So when I use what Jonas said, I add the 50mm on the GFX 100S, it's easy peasy. I just bring it out to shoot. 100 megapixel for street. It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the ways that I was thinking that I would use the 100S, because I come from a DSLR background and the weight is very similar. So it, even for a female like me, the weight is manageable. So one of the my ideas is to shoot on superfine JPEG, set in the film simulation to the mood that I would like to have for the day, and just go on and shoot with a superfine JPEG to have very manageable files. So even if I'm firing off, 100, 200 shots for that day, I know that I'll go back with ready images. And one of the things that I love about the GFX, it's the quality of the JPEG and how malleable it actually is, that you can pull in the shadows so much and pull back in the highlights by more than 2 stops. So for a street as a street photographer, that is one of the ideas that I plan to work with for the 100S.
Yeah, thank you. So the street photography, so with large format sensor camera, is exactly what we really wanted to deliver to the customers.
Yes.
Yeah. So
can I add one last thing to that?
Yes, please.
Sure. So, and I was going to say, as I think all the other photographers have said, I think the mobility of the camera, and then traditionally, like what Jonas said, you have a tripod, you're in the studio. I think what I like about this is my studio is up in the air. It's a fast-moving helicopter, and not once did the camera fail me in terms of its autofocus speed, and also the IBIS system and sort of the in-body stabilization. I think is so great that you never doubt that you never doubt the image you're going to get, even in low shutter speeds, in low light conditions. The sensor reacts just the same as what you would expect it to without ever failing me. So I think those are just great things in terms of whether it's street photography or it's landscape or your fast motion sport photography. Even all those things I feel like is what's exciting about this camera.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So here we have Takashi Makoto. So they were in charge of GFX 100S product planning. Any comment, please?
Yeah, sorry, I have other question. I want to hear their opinion about the lens. So, Ivan.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you are a portrait shooter.
Yes.
In fact, me too. So, Mindy and Jonas, well known. So I like the shooting portrait. So my question is, what feature is, do you think what feature is the most important for portrait lens?
I think there's 2 parts to it, basically, to me.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the glass, the optical, I think it should be sharp. Not razor sharp. That is so sharp that when you look at it, it's painful because it's so sharp. I think it should be shut in mouth, that's comfortable. And the bokeh, of course, is important because it causes that separation. That's where I felt that the GF 80mm, and like some people will say the GF 110 and the 80mm is rather close. To me, it's rather close in focal length, but it's different. And the results are different. So what I love about the GF 80mm is that cinematic feel it creates. It's different. And if it adds a little bit of environment into that shot because of the focal length compared to 110, which has more compression. So they both work hand in hand. So like what I said, the GF 80mm 1.7 gives that more light for me at 1.7, plus the GFX, which is it has high bis. I'm able to shoot at a lower light without losing my ISO, which I think is brilliant. Can help.
Okay, thank you. I can totally agree with you.
Yeah, all we need is just a pretty model.
Actually, I think the GFX system, I mean, besides the body being a great recorder of the images, the lenses that you guys have put out are superior. So, the lens, the quality of the lenses is befitting of the body. And speaking of bokeh and shooting pretty ladies, I also like the chromatic aberration. How the lenses work around that. Very much.
Okay.
Can I also maybe add something to that with the lens?
Yes, please.
So I think it's so important to emphasize that in 2021, all of you manufacturers, you can make the perfect lens. You have the technology for this. You can make the perfect razor sharp lens if you want to. But what I've seen you guys do lately is just you take a look at your target audience for a given lens, a given focal length, be it the XF50 1.0 and now the GF80 1.7, and you really take into account what is this lens going to be used for, and then you give it a certain something. You give it a little. It might be little flaws, but it gives it a characteristic. And in a time where everybody can take images that are super tack sharp and everything looks clinically perfect, those little flaws, those little characteristics are what's going to set the image apart. So a really good portrait lens like the 80mm f1.7 does just that. It gives that little extra because there was actually a thinking of this in the design process. I don't know if you think about this in the design process, but that I can ask you, but it's what it looks like to me.
Okay, so
Okay,
Makoto,
so, So let me comment my final message to everybody. So anyway, so 2 years ago, we launched the GFX 100. It was actually including the, like a vertical grip inside, and its weight was like 1.4 kilogram. Then after 2 years, we spent all of time and all of brain to reduce the size and weight, and including all of technology inside this small body. So now I believe, and our R&D team also believe, so this body will have any possibility to shoot with you.
Okay, so today we also announced new X series camera, so which is XE4. So let's move on the discussion about X series cameras and lenses. So first, Jonas, so you shoot a very nice night scene street portrait, I say, so with XE4. So how's your feeling about XE4, and did you enjoy the camera?
Very much. I really enjoyed this camera. What attracted me to the X series at the beginning with the X100 was that little compact size. I could bring it with me everywhere, and as you also said, like it's very important to have that camera with you everywhere, because you never know when the situation occurs, and there's a picture moment in everything. So having that camera with me at all times is so super important to me. And the small size of these APS-C cameras, they make it super simple to have it with me all the time. I don't think it can be made any smaller than the XE4. And I really enjoyed shooting it in conjunction this winter with the new 27 2.8, because what that lens does is it acts in two ways. When you step back a little bit, it acts almost like a 23mm, and then when you get closer, it acts more like a 35mm. So you really get two focal lengths in one, without having to compromise too much. It really is for a street photographer or a portrait photographer, an environmental portrait photographer, it really is a very, very nice all-round lens to have. And I must say, I've been so impressed with it. Like optically has been really, really sharp. And 2.8, it might not sound like that small of a, or that large an aperture, but in reality, because you can get so close to your subject with it, it will give you nice blurry backgrounds, and if you want it, and you can stop down to f8, and it will be clinically sharp for everyday street scenes. So very, very happy to shoot this combination.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, so I asked Mindy, so you also had tried XE4, so with your street photography. So how was the feeling? Can you tell me?
Yeah, I went out shooting in the first very wet and rainy week of January this year, and proven weather resistant. But besides that, what I really like is the addition of the three-way tilt screen, because I was a huge fan of the XE3, just for its simplicity and how it's got all the Fujifilm goodness and the menu all jam-packed into one camera. And now that it's tiltable, it makes it all the more social media friendly. And another thing I like is that you can actually just hold the camera in one hand. So okay, if you're going to the supermarket and carrying bags, I can just simply operate everything in one hand, the aperture, the ISO, by pressing the top and adjusting the screen. I can even like just press the camera touch screen to trigger. So one way I would use the XE4, it's actually not via the viewfinder. I find the LCD a lot more palatable for shooting with the XE4. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, any comment from our side? Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to hear your opinions, Mindy and Jonas. So as you see, we installed this XE4, the totally flat body. So, but someone says it looks very difficult to hold. How did you feel about the holding feeling about XE4?
Well, I can start.
Yeah.
This doesn't annoy me at all. I mean, it's flat. I have some Leica cameras. They're also flat. I mean, you hold on to it. If you have a problem, you guys supply a new kind of a thumb grip. So seriously, it's not a problem gripping onto it. And I like the fact that you simplified it and then made it an option for people to, if they want a more handier grip, they can buy one. But it is not a problem holding that at all. So we have kind of muscular things in our fingers. So it makes sense that we actually use them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So may I interrupt about the users' questions?
Okay.
So now I'm checking the chat and I will pick up some questions. The first one, will Nostalgic Neg be available for the existing GFX or X series?
Oh, Nostalgic Nega.
Yes.
So, who's gonna answer?
Yes. So I will answer.
Yeah.
So in order to maximize the performance of Nostalgic Nega color reproduction, to be honest, we need large format. We need 100 megapixel sensor. If we install Nostalgic Nega to APS-C format, we have to redesign about the color. So it means we need a little more time to install. So please wait.
So positively.
Yeah, positively.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we positively,
Yeah.
in a super positive way.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more question. That's quite really today's question. Impression of the Sony Alpha.
That's a very good question.
Great, incredible camera.
Yeah.
We all think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially about the performance.
We
Yeah.
just look at the specification on the web, but it's a nice camera.
Yeah.
But I really want to ask photographer's impression. So about
the
Sony new camera and Fuji new cameras.
yeah.
Any comment?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say coming from the GFX 100 to now having the power of the GFX 100S in the smaller body at the price point that's, I think, lower than the Sony, I wouldn't see why you'd want to go there. I mean, I think there's so much more power in that medium format sensor at the megapixel count with the film simulations, with IBIS and with the super fast autofocus. So I think I would ask why, and I would also, maybe there is an application for that, but I think from the sort of landscape fine art and sort of FUJIFILM color that you can get, for me, the 100S is a winner. And combine that with the XE4, and you've got a perfect dream kit together. So
Thank you very
that's where I'm going.
Yeah, so the large format camera and smallest, so the everyday camera. So that's a perfect combination. Yeah. Thank you for your comment.
And maybe I would like to add, I think, so since we are mentioning brands now, right? We can go that way. So the entire Fuji system, right? It has, I would say it's very traditionalist in terms of the dials. It really resembles a film camera. So making the transition for me from Nikon, ergonomically, it makes sense and it kind of clicks with the way my brain works. So I would imagine that if you're switching from a Canon to a Sony, it's much easier than switching from a Nikon to a Sony. And henceforth for me, switching to a Nikon to a Fuji is much easier than switching from a Nikon to a Sony, if you get what I mean.
Okay, so thank you very much. So I would say, so there is no camera which is suitable for any shooting. So the conditions and shooting style. So each manufacturers, each camera makers, so the provide a lot of options to the customer, to the market. So that is a mission of camera industry, and also that is a mission of Fujifilm. Okay, so and now, so unfortunately, so the time is coming. So I have to ask last question. Jonas, so you have, I think you have many things you want to ask us, but final question. So please.
Yeah, well, could you please make a digital X-Pan at some point? That was not the final question,
yes.
but could you please do that sometime soon?
I think the digital X-Pan is 50R. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it can be. Definitely. But we need it to be with proper rangefinder and titanium built, like the X Pro 3, stuff like that.
Okay.
But we can talk about that another day.
With titanium body. Okay.
But what I've been thinking is, like, you guys have always been so good at updating your cameras, the older cameras, the older model cameras, and you continue to do that. So even if you have an older camera, you guys still just support it with new firmware updates. Do you have anything you might be? Are you releasing anything? So in that kind of category, can you even say? Can you tell?
You are asking us for secret of firmware, future firmware.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Good question.
Okay, I ask Jun-san to answer.
Yeah, Jonas, it's a good question. We have one more thing today. It's about, as you say, the firmware upgrade. Firstly, for the X100V, we will have a new capability of the built-in ND filter when shooting movie, the first thing. And the second thing is about X Pro 3. We will have some features about the bright frame of the OVF. Also, one more model, XT3, we will have some new features. So we will do as much as we can for our X users, for our existing models.
That's excellent. I mean, seriously, the ND filter in video in the X100V, that has been requested so much. It makes total sense to have that. So perfect. Superman.
Thank you.
Yeah, firmware upgrade is a very important part of Fuji XGFX product. Right. So we continue the work for the all Fuji X mount G mount customers. Okay, so that's all for today's agenda. So we hope everyone watching this event enjoyed the new product information and also the live discussion. So if you want to see the details of today's announcement product, so please visit our website, fujifilm-x.com. and and also you can see so the very beautiful pictures and videos so taken by professional photographers and ex-photographers. So thank you everyone. So we hope to see you all so at our next xsummit. So thank you again and bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.